There's only one team every year that ends up winning the championship. With that in mind, there will always be a team that was just a few wins away from becoming champions. How well do the losers of the NBA Finals perform in the following season? Let's look back at the past 10 years and find out. There are 4 tiers of teams, and at the lowest are the 2019-2020 Golden State Warriors. After making the finals for the 5th year in a row, injuries, free agency, retirements, and a lack of bench resulted in the Dubs having the worst record in the league. A year of retooling was needed, and the first sign of change was when Kevin Durant left the team. The Warriors acquired D'Angelo Russell in a sign-and trade that brought Kevin Durant to Brooklyn. Russell had just come off an All-Star season and was the primary focus of the package received by the Warriors. D'Lo would eventually be traded to the Timberwolves for Minnesota's Andrew Wiggins. During the 2019 draft, Golden State would also select Jordan Poole at 28 out of Michigan. As I stated in my retrospective from the 2019 offseason, the acquisitions of Poole and Wiggins played a crucial role in the success that the Warriors have had recently. If not for the rebuilding season, it's possible that they would have never won a championship in 2022. The rivals to the Warriors are number 9, as the 2018-2019 Cavaliers team is the second to worst team following a finals appearance in the last 10 years. Like the Warriors, the Cavs had lost their finals MVP in the summer. While Golden State retooled, the Cavs planned on a full rebuild. Cleveland had lost their young star guard Kyrie Irving in the summer of 2017. And after losing LeBron a year later, it made sense that now would be the time to hit the reset button. The 2019 draft class was led by some excellent prospects, like Zion Williamson and Ja Morant. Because of the Kyrie Irving trade, the Cavs got a 2018 pick from Boston, which they used to select Colin Sexton at 8. He would be a part of the offense regularly, as he averaged 16.7 points per game during his rookie year. Colin would eventually be an important piece in a trade that Cleveland made for Donovan Mitchell on September 3, 2022. Cleveland would get the 5th overall pick in the 2019 draft, and they would select Donovan Mitchell's all-star teammate Darius Garland. The Cavs made the playoffs for the first time since 2018, and it looks like the new era in Cleveland has potential. Another team that felt the presence of LeBron leaving were the Miami Heat in the 2014-2015 season. After 4 consecutive finals appearances, LeBron's time in South Beach ended, as he would reunite with the Cavaliers in free agency. Much like the Warriors, free agency, retirements, losing their finals MVP, and the loss of valuable bench pieces ended their streak. Both Bosh and Wade would return to the team, but they both weren't the players that they were when the Heatles first formed. The Heat would just barely miss the postseason, as they were just 2 wins away from securing a playoff spot. A positive from this year would be that it was Hassan Whiteside's first season with the Miami Heat, who played an important part of the team post-Heatles. Not only would Whiteside go on to make an all-defensive team and become a rebound and block champion, but he would also be a part of the sign-and trade that would bring Jimmy Butler to South Beach. Another important addition was Goran Dragic, who traded from Phoenix to Miami at the trade deadline. Dragic would make an all-star appearance in 2018 and help lead Miami to the finals in 2020. Miami went through a rough patch following the departure of LeBron, but they've been doing great recently. 6 years after LeBron left, the Miami Heat will lose the finals to the Lakers, who are led by their former superstar. The 2020-2021 Miami Heat are a part of the next tier. Following their loss, they dealt with one of the shortest off-seasons in American sport history. With the short off-season, health and safety protocols, and injuries, their following season did not live up to their expectations. They would finish as the 6th seed and would match up with the Milwaukee Bucks, a contender that Miami eliminated the year before. Giannis and the Bucks began their championship run with revenge, as Milwaukee swept the Heat in the first round. There were some positives in their rough 2021 season, such as Max Strus beginning his tenure with the Miami Heat. It would also be the first year that Gabe Vincent would get serious playing time. Both would be important role players that helped Miami make deep playoff runs in the 2 following years. Miami would also add Victor Oladipo at the trade deadline, but injuries hampered how well he played. While their first round exit was concerning at the time, they have proven in the following years that 2020 was more accurate to who they are. The Bucks would come back down 2 games versus the Phoenix Suns in the finals, who are the next team I'd like to bring up. After being 2 games away from their franchise's first championship, the Suns had a phenomenal season. Phoenix would finish with the best record in the NBA, while also finishing with the best record in franchise history. Devin Booker specifically played great, making All-NBA first team and finishing 4th in MVP voting. Even though Memphis and Golden State were serious competition, the general belief was that the Suns would represent the West again. When Phoenix went up 2-0 in the second round, it seemed like it was a shoo-in that they would at least make the conference finals. That was until Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks won games 3, 4, 6, and 7. After one of the best regular seasons in franchise history, the Phoenix Suns would get blown out on their home court. Before their season started, the Suns would sign Chris Paul to a 4-year, $120 million deal. The point guard was moved this offseason in exchange for Washington's Bradley Beal. The progression of Mikal Bridges is also something to notice, as his 2022 year was an important step for him to be a centerpiece in a trade with the Nets for Kevin Durant. Now with multiple big roster changes, we'll see if an appearance in the finals can be repeated. The team that actually won the West in 2022 was the Warriors, and they would eliminate the Boston Celtics in 6 games. Although the team had a rough defeat in the finals, after such a challenging start to the season, there were some positives to take away from it. As a result, expectations were optimistic for the upcoming season, even though they had lost their head coach. They matched those positive expectations early in the year as they started the season with a 21-7 record. They did falter here and there around the middle of the year, but the Celtics would finish the season as the second seed. When they played the Hawks in the first round, the signs that the team wasn't as good as expected were shown. The Celtics would win the series, but the fact that it took 6 games was surprising. But after the Bucks were eliminated and the Celtics came back down 3-2 versus the Sixers, it seemed like they would get a chance to redeem themselves. They matched up with the Miami Heat, a team that they eliminated last year and whose star was coming off of an ankle injury. Boston went down 0-3, but managed to win 3 consecutive games, giving them a shot at making history. However, they eventually lost Game 7 and their year was over. Since the season happened a couple of months ago, there's not much to look back at. I was surprised when the front office traded Marcus Smart, as I thought he would stay with the franchise for his entire career. They brought Kristaps Porzingis in return, which I think is a good addition. However, I want to see how he fits with this team before deciding if it was the right decision. Now, we'll see how the Celtics will perform in the following years after a disappointing end to their season in 2023. One team that eliminated the Celtics before was the Cavs in 2018, who are next. In all honesty, you can make the case that the Cavs should be lower. After losing in 5 to the Golden State Warriors, their option to run it back wasn't available after Kyrie Irving requested a trade. The team wasn't as good as they were the past few years, so they made multiple trades at the deadline for a playoff push. It was the last year of LeBron's contract, so they needed to improve the team. If they remain strong even after trading away Kyrie, then LeBron could potentially re-sign. After the regular season, the Cavaliers found themselves with the 4th seed. During the playoffs, Victor Oladipo and the Pacers put up a good fight against the Cavaliers, while the Raptors suffered their hardest loss to the Cavs yet. The Boston Celtics were initially up 2 in the conference finals, but ultimately lost in 7 games. Throughout these different series, LeBron performed exceptionally well, putting up these averages on the way to his 9th finals appearance. After a memorable ending to Game 1 of the NBA Finals, they would get swept by the Warriors. As I mentioned earlier, Collin Sexton would play an important role for the Cavs in the following years. I put the 2018 Cavs in their own tier because they're the only team to make the finals again but lose. While they did make the finals, the regular season wasn't as good as teams like Phoenix or Boston. 2 years prior, the Cleveland Cavaliers had made history by coming back down 3-1 and winning their first ever championship. Now we get to the final tier of teams that were able to win the championship a year after. After both Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving went down in the 2015 playoffs, the possibility of the Cavaliers winning that year was unlikely. Although they lost the finals to the Warriors, they get another opportunity to win a ring soon. They were on a roll the year after, as they swept both the Hawks and Pistons and eliminated the Raptors in 6 on the way back to the finals. The Warriors this time had finished with a 73-9 record, the best record of all time. They were trailing 1-3 and it looked like the series was lost. However, Kyrie and LeBron helped Cleveland make history by coming back down 3-1, which had never been achieved in the finals before. While other teams I've mentioned have added or removed a few key pieces, the 2016 Cavs just needed health to be on their side this time around. San Antonio's exit in 2013 was devastating from their perspective. After being literally a few seconds away from becoming champions, they lost both Game 6 and Game 7. Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan were both in their mid-30s, while Tony Parker had just turned 30 that May. Questions began about if the Spurs would be able to make it back to the finals with young teams like the Thunder on the rise in the West. And while Kawhi would become an offensive superstar a few years later, he hadn't become one yet. The team didn't have a definitive number 1. And while that may have been a negative at first, it wasn't by the end of the year. The lack of a number 1 option led to them focusing on a team ball style of play focused on ball movement. This playing style helped them achieve the best record in the league. After going to Game 7 versus the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, the San Antonio Spurs would gentlemen sweep the Portland Trailblazers and eliminate the Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games to punch their ticket back to the finals for a rematch. The Spurs eliminated the Miami Heat in 5 games, as their third-year forward Kawhi Leonard won Finals MVP. While he did have the defensive prowess, even earning an all-defensive spot, Kawhi wasn't the player that we know today. In the following years, Kawhi would go on to become the best player on the team, leading the Spurs as their trio played the ends of their careers out. The hardest part when ranking these teams was deciding whether the 2016 Cavs or 2014 Spurs were better. But what convinced me to put San Antonio above Cleveland was the fact that they had a better record and were overall a better unit. I'm torn between who I believe is better, but right now, I lean towards the Spurs being the better team. While the 2013 Finals was a rough way to lose, the way the Warriors lost in 2016 was worse. After breaking history and earning the best record ever, the Warriors beat both the Rockets and Trailblazers in 5. After going down 3-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder, they came back and won the series, but ironically would also choke a 3-1 lead to the Cavaliers in the finals. After their finals exit, the Golden State Warriors signed forward Kevin Durant in free agency. The only noteworthy changes to the roster, besides adding the 2014 MVP, were the loss of Harrison Barnes and bringing in both JaVale McGee and Zaza Pachulia. The Warriors would have an elite 2017 campaign, as they finished with the best record in the league, having 4 of their players make the All-Star game, and only lost to 1 game on the way to becoming champions. They put themselves up there with some of the greatest teams of all time, as they finished their season and started preparing to win back-to-back. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, KD would eventually get moved for D'Angelo Russell, who would then get traded for Andrew Wiggins. When talking about the moves the Dubs made, I mentioned that I created a retrospective starting from the 2019 offseason. If you're interested in seeing it, click the video on your screen.